Greetings, stellar viewer, and Happy New Year. So in today's video, I am going to be doing something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, which is all things New Orleans. New Orleans is my birthplace. It is where I come from. It is a large part of the reason why I am the way I am, why I am interested in the things that I'm interested in. Culturally speaking, there are deep roots and ties to magic and the far out. It would be my honor to talk about some of these things here with you today. And to help me with that is this guy. So this is Boudreaux. So Boudreaux is also wearing a Mardi Gras mask. And Mardi Gras will be one of the things that I will be discussing today in this video, but I thought it would be kind of cute just to have him here on the sidelines. So if you are interested in a particular part, you will be able to check the description and the timestamps will be there. Either here or here, I will be putting some images as I go along in this video. So if you're also interested in maybe seeing like depictions or things like that, I will do my best to find like an image or something and place it on the screen. I'm just so excited, so let's get right into it. So I figured we could jump right into the folklore. Growing up in New Orleans was interesting. There was no shortage of strange. And one of the things I heard about growing up was something called the rougarou. So the rougarou is a Cajun tale of something similar to like a werewolf. Under the full moon, a creature would morph in shape from a man to a beast. I believe he could also like fly or something like that, or he was able to have like the gift of flight through like a companion or something, like a bat, I believe it was. Normally stories like that were told to kids to like maybe get them to behave, like, oh, the rougarou is gonna come and get you. That never scared me. I just wanted to see one. I am Monica Strange for a reason. So that is about the rougarou. Next, we're gonna talk about vampires. So a very popular book, which then had a screen adaptation, is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I love the show Interview with the Vampire. I plan on talking about it on here. I discovered the show last year. It completely captivated me. I'm ready for season 3. However, Interview with the Vampire was actually based on a real person. So the Comte Saint-Germain was the muse for Anne Rice's character in Interview with the Vampire. However, tales of vampires or the immortal blood drinkers were very common in New Orleans. And to this day, there are many businesses in the French Quarter and surrounding it that revere those tales and have incorporated them into their business model. So Marie Laveau is another very famous historical figure. I remember being captivated by Marie Laveau. I actually have some books on my bookshelf in a series that I read that is loosely based on her descendant. But in media, Marie Laveau, who is a genuine historical figure, was personified in many different ways. But she was a very real person. She was a healer, a voodoo practitioner, and she was very sought out in the city of New Orleans. When I was younger, I tell you, I was so mesmerized by her story. And I distinctly remember there being a tale stating that she did not die when it was said that she did. And there was something about like her grave. Either she had like a multiple graves or someone went to like check on her grave or something and like she was gone, meaning like she like got up and walked out or something like that. And I just remember being like, I was so captivated by Marie Laveau, like, oh my goodness. That is it for the folklore segment of this video. Now let's get into some traditions. Boudreaux is sitting so kindly into this video. Because of that, I'm going to talk about Mardi Gras first for the tradition. So the tradition of Mardi Gras is what millions of people venture to Louisiana to celebrate. It entails a host of parades that are put on in the city of New Orleans and then also in like the suburban areas and also throughout some of the different states along the Gulf Coast. But New Orleans Mardi Gras is just better. in every way. It's true. The parades typically showcase local bands, dance teams, cheerleaders, flag teams, and there are floats that go down the streets. They are like sectioned off, but there are floats that go down and throw like gifts into crowds of people. Typically, the Mardi Gras beads are very like famous. Like if you think Mardi Gras, you think New Orleans, you think beads. However, your girl has been on the receiving end of some individuals who did not feel like taking the Mardi Gras beads out of the little packs. And let me just say, it hurts. Let me just say, it hurts to be hit in the head by Mardi Gras beads. It hurts. But in general, the parades are named after Greek and Roman gods and goddesses. There are typically masquerades and balls that are put on. I have still yet to go to the Zulu ball. So it's not always Roman or Greek, it can be different things, but Zulu is of African origin. You need like an invite. Like you don't just like go into the ball. Like you need an invite, you need to buy a ticket, buy a table, and those things can be so pricey that I've never been to one. I'd like to go someday, but it is what it is, I guess. The throws can be really, really fun from the parade. It's not just beads, it's different things. Like one parade throws like vegetables, so like you can get like food. Some other parades have like stuffed animals, or some other parade floats rather, throw like stuffed animals, like glow sticks, light up whistles. I remember I've gotten like a lot of those. I've gotten like a few Beanie Babies like whenever I was a kid, like, you know, early 2000s, late 90s. It was like Beanie Babies were like all of the rage. So there were like Mardi Gras beads, Beanie Babies, other little stuffed animals and everything like that were thrown, and that's really nice. But word to the wise, if you're going to do Mardi Gras, my friend, get there early. Get there early, prepare to stay late, try to navigate your parking situation like as soon as you can, and also be careful because there are some places that will try to charge you to park and it's not even their business or establishment. Some people just pay to park there. They'll like have like an empty lot or something, and someone will have like a chair out and they'll say, oh, well, if you want to park this close to the parade route, you're gonna have to go to, like you're gonna have to pay us essentially to park here. So keep that in mind. If you're gonna do Mardi Gras, keep that in mind. If you're gonna do Mardi Gras, you know, just here to help. It's always a good time. So I do recommend, if you are interested in doing something like that, to go for it because I think you'll have fun. I personally don't do Mardi Gras anymore. I've done it enough times in my life. I've had my fair share of run-ins with different situations. Ultimately, overall, right? It's cool. Just keep in mind, if you also go, that it is very much party central. So if you are maybe on like a sobriety journey, or if you maybe just like don't like intoxicated people, try to stay around a lot of kids. You know, try to stay with like family groups and everything, rather, even though like the parents drink and everything. It is a joyous occasion, but sometimes people can get rowdy whenever you mix crowds and people and alcohol and a lot of like activity. So yeah, moving on. Next, let's talk about the tradition of the second line. So there is something very strange that my city does called a second line, and this can be for a various amount of occasions, for birthday parties, for celebrations, for weddings, and even funerals. Whenever you second line, it is meant to be a time of community. It's meant to be a time of fun and tradition and perseverance. It's done with that in mind. And it is generally accompanied by a band. There are dancers in the headdresses because New Orleans also has very deep ties with, of course, the indigenous people of the land. There are headdresses that are worn that were curated kind of from all of that. And the best part about it is anyone and everyone is welcome to join in. So if you were ever in New Orleans and you see a second line starting or a second line kind of in procession, you are more than welcome to join the crowd and just do it. I've done it so many times and it's always a blast. The city above all is one of joy, and this is just the best way to show that. We put the fun in funeral. Anyway, moving on. So let's dish about the food. So my favorite dishes overall is anything that is coming out of the Gulf. Any dish with seafood is a dish for Monica. So we're really known for like crawfish, the shrimp industry, and any single type of way you can make a shrimp dish, any type of way you can cook shrimp. I always think of that scene from Forrest Gump. Yeah, that one. That's basically Louisiana. And seafood industry is booming and may it forever prosper. But there's also like oysters, different types of fish, like catfish and bass. But the best dishes that I can actually recommend for you if you find yourself in NOLA, it's gonna be a po' boy, which is a superior type of sandwich, if I don't say so myself. I don't make the rules, I just speak them. Po' boys are everything. It's made on something called French bread, and most restaurants offer something, and I'm going to get into phrases after this, but most restaurants offer something called dressing your sandwich, which simply means, do you want the fixings on it automatically? You get your protein, but then you also get the fixings on it. So if you want it dressed, typically at most places, it's gonna be lettuce, tomato, mayo. Some people also offer pickle and onion. I'm a bit of a picky eater, believe it or not. I typically prefer my po' boys just with light lettuce, extra mayo, and just a bit of ketchup. But it also depends on what proteins I'm putting on it. But generally, if I'm back home, I'm eating seafood, because now that I am outside of Louisiana, my seafood options are rather limited from what I am accustomed to. You can dress it any way you'd like. You can put any type of veggies and protein on it that you want. There's like chicken tender po' boy, there's beef. There are like hot sausage is also really good. Yeah, you get the picture. So I also have some favorite rice dishes. So typically red beans and rice, crawfish etouffee, shrimp etouffee, Cajun rice, jambalaya. All day, every day, I want it. Then we also have something called beignets. And beignets are a type of like a Cajun French donut. Typically there's powdered sugar on it. You can put honey on it if you'd like, but I think it's perfect. Just the donut and the powdered sugar and some water and orange juice. You're good all day. However, I want you to hear me, okay, friend? So if you're wearing dark colors, whenever you go to get a beignet, you're wearing like a black shirt. I have mastered this out of all of my years of veteran beignet eater, if you will. Whenever you go to take a bite of the beignet, do not breathe out. Don't do it, because you're gonna have that powdered sugar all over you. All over you. And I mean, yeah, if you maybe have like a little wet napkin or something, you could try to get it out, but a word to the wise, don't play yourself. You know what I mean? Don't play yourself. Just breathe in, take a bite, breathe out. But make sure it's like away from your face before you do that. Also, stuffed crab, really, really good. Next, they have oysters. I typically prefer my oysters lightly fried, like not in the shell, just like a lightly fried oyster. And I'll normally do that on like a po' boy. However, some people like raw oysters, and then other people like steamed, broiled, and they'll normally do like it with a splash of Louisiana hot sauce or Tabasco, and that's on them. I don't prefer the sliminess of like of an oyster, so I normally do lightly fried, and I think it's perfect. But oyster is definitely an acquired taste, and I don't have it often. Like the last time I had oysters was, I don't know, a really, really long time ago. So the last food dish that I'll talk about is gumbo. So I love gumbo. I made my first pot of gumbo for the first time. I talked about it in my last post of the year. I talked about how I made gumbo because I was sent home with a bunch of goodies, food bases. So basically, the gumbo base is like all of the powder with like the roux mix, and everything is already in there. So really the only thing you need to do is add protein, add whatever vegetables you're gonna put in it, and then add like your water or your chicken broth or whatever you're gonna use. But there are two main types of gumbo. You either are gonna have chicken and andouille sausage, or you can have a seafood gumbo, which is my preference. And the seafood gumbo has crab and shrimp in it. A gumbo is basically like a broth soup type of dish. And some people don't like it with rice. I prefer it with rice. I prefer extra rice actually in my gumbo, and I just, it's just the best. It's just the best. Okay, and now to end this video, because I've been yapping for a while, I wanted to talk about some of the famous phrases or some common phrases that are very New Orleans, Louisiana specific. So the first phrase is going to be from the traditional Cajun French roots. I don't speak it enough to have a conversation with anyone, but there are some basic like phrases and words that are so common that people just like know what it is. So the first phrase is laissez les bon temps rouler, which means let the good times roll. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, it just sounds nice. It's pretty. But of course, because New Orleans, party central, let the good times roll. You know what I mean? Have fun. I mentioned it earlier, but dressed for a po' boy is with the fixins on it, the automatic stuff that is put on unless you say otherwise, but that's gonna be your lettuce, tomato, mayo, sometimes pickle and onion, just depending on what establishment that you're going to. Another French Cajun word is gonna be lagniappe. It's spelled Laginappe, lagniappe, but it basically means like an extra or like a side. So if you're in Louisiana and you go to like a restaurant or something, you'll see on the menu, instead of saying like sides, like where like the mac and cheese or mashed potatoes or something like that is, they'll have like lagniappe, and sometimes in parentheses they'll put sides, but that is what that means. Then we have something called the cold drink. The cold drink encompasses literally everything. It essentially is like a Coke or a Dr. Pepper, a Sprite. If someone asks, hey, do you want a cold drink? You say yes, and then you tell them what is the type of drink that you're wanting. This word, bruh, B-R-A-H, bruh. So bruh is used around me all the time. It is a gender neutral term for me. I call anybody and everybody bro. Well, if I know you, but it literally means like bro or brother, like friend type thing. Making groceries is a phrase that I still use it, and I didn't think that it was odd until one time I had mentioned on, I think I was like on a live stream or something, and I said that I had to go make groceries later, and someone was like, what does that even mean? And it means to go grocery shopping. So going to the grocery store, buying groceries, you're making groceries. It is very much like an old school, all of this is, but it's like an old school term that means just grocery shopping. So next up is the Cajun French word for godfather, which is parrain. Parrain. Yeah, parrain means godfather. And last but not least is going to be an architectural fun fact. So in New Orleans, we are known for our shotgun houses. And a shotgun house is essentially one long house. I lived in one growing up. So it's one long house. Typically, it's a standalone. Sometimes it can be like a duplex as well. Or actually, I actually feel like it's more common for it to be a duplex than just like a single home. Anyway, so a shotgun house is just like one long home, and each room leads into another, kind of like a Russian nesting doll, I suppose. I don't really know if that's like a good analogy, but essentially what happens is you'll go through the front door of the shotgun house, you're in the living room, then you're in the kitchen and like the next room. So walk in, living room, walk further, kitchen, walk further, bathroom, walk further, bedroom, walk further, another bedroom. So, and they're not always like set up like this. Like some rooms can be like used for different things, but that is essentially what a shotgun house is. So that was the end of this video. Thank you so much for sharing in this with me. I especially felt the pull to make this video because if you have been kind of keeping up with like world events, obviously there are always insane things happening, but there on New Year's was a terrorist attack on the French Quarter, and it was just so scary waking up to a new year and seeing the news reports and trying to get in touch with my family and friends to see, you know, are they okay? Like I have a lot of people I know who are working in the French Quarter because especially with tourism and everything, with Mardi Gras upcoming, it's just getting busier and busier, and people need their jobs. Like that's where people work at. And you know, New Orleans is a very, very resilient city, but it gets to a point where there's just so much that all you can do is just be there for your loved ones and be there for the strangers, like, you know, at the same time. And just my heart goes out to all of the people who lost a loved one, lost a friend, lost a sister, lost a brother and a mother and a father and an aunt and an uncle. And just I feel so deeply for them. And I just hope that this video can be a light to just anyone who is curious about New Orleans, from someone who born and raised lived there, who lived through Hurricane Katrina that happened in 2005. This is just so like incredible in just the worst way that things like this can happen and affect so many people, and times seem so dark, and because they are. And I've always felt with my content that I had an opportunity to do something really, really, really special, and sharing in this does not aim to take away from the really, really hard things and hardships that New Orleans and Louisiana and the country in general has faced, but it is my act of love to share in this. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching, and please let me know if you have been to New Orleans before. I would love to hear your stories and to share some positivity and some love and share community with you in this. So thank you so much for liking, commenting in advance, and subscribing if you haven't already. I appreciate it. It really helps me out here, and I hope to share more about my life back in New Orleans. I no longer live in Louisiana, but it's always such a privilege to go back home and to be with loved ones and just to share in the genuine beauty that is my home, New Orleans. So thank you again for watching, and I hope that you have a stellar day. Bye.